This video is intended to provide you with information about counseling and related professions, as well as suggestions and tips for those interested in pursuing counseling as their career. The word counselor and therapist will be used interchangeably in this video. Keep in mind there are many ways to get to your end goal, and this video may not cover all counseling professions. Here is a list of some different areas of counseling. This list is not all-inclusive, but are the most common counseling professions and related areas. You can be a licensed mental health counselor, a substance abuse counselor, a rehabilitation counselor, a marriage and family therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, an applied behavioral analysis, or a school counselor or school psychologist. The best course of action to truly understand this field and related fields would be to speak with professionals in these fields. That way, you can get a better understanding of what it is that these professionals do on a daily basis to make sure that it's something that you can see yourself doing. But maybe we can help you understand the basics first. One thing I wanted to make clear was the difference between being a counselor and being a psychologist. There is a fair amount of overlap between what these two professionals do, who they work with, and how they provide treatment. The biggest difference has to do with the level of education attained. Most psychologists will need to have a doctoral degree, while most counselors will need to have a master's degree to practice. Counselors focus almost exclusively on practical application. Psychologists focus on practical application, but also research in the field. Counselors are licensed through the American Counseling Association, and psychologists are licensed through the American Psychological Association. Master-level licensed mental health counselors are not eligible for APA licensure with the American Psychological Association. Neither of these professions should be confused with a psychiatrist, who is a medical doctor who has attended medical school and is able to prescribe medication. Something most budding counselors don't know is that you do not need your doctorate to have your own practice. You just need a master's degree and a few years of counseling experience and business experience before attempting to open your own practice. Be sure to talk to professionals in the field to find out more about how you can have your own practice with just a master's degree. It is a common misconception that counselors and social workers are two completely different fields. These two professions are actually very similar. Counselors and social workers both provide one-on-one counseling to individuals in need, including clinical assessments and treatment planning. They both require internship hours and state licensure. Social workers provide counseling services in addition to assisting their clients with social services. They connect clients with employment assistance, housing programs, support groups, and contacting other resources that would improve the lives of their client. Most of these counseling professions require a master's degree in order to be licensed, but requirements may differ based on each particular job title, so be on the lookout. Specific course and education requirements for counseling and therapy licensure are dictated by state laws and regulations. However, most states follow the guidelines established by their national accrediting body. For example, CACREP is the national accreditation for licensed mental health counseling. There is also accreditation for licensed marriage and family therapy and licensed clinical social work. Keep in mind, you don't have to attend an accredited program in order to get licensed. Just make sure your graduate program meets your state licensing requirements. If you are thinking about going to graduate school at UCF for counseling, here are the different programs that you can look into. UCF has two separate programs and two separate colleges to prepare you to become a licensed mental health counselor. The first one is through the Counselor Education Program through the College of Education and Human Performance. They have a clinical mental health counseling track, which helps you to become a licensed mental health counselor, a school counseling track to become a school counselor in the K-12 system, and a marriage and family therapy track to become a licensed marriage and family therapist. The Clinical Psychology Master's Program through the Psychology Department under the College of Sciences also prepares you to become a licensed mental health counselor. There is also the Social Work Program through the College of Health and Public Affairs to become a licensed clinical social worker, and a specialist program for school psychology. If you want to take a look at UCF's graduate catalog, there is a link posted in this video that you can follow. Other schools may have similar titles and more programs such as ABA and rehab counseling, so be sure to look into other schools as well. Something we as advisors commonly hear from students who want to do counseling is that they want to work with a specific population, and they want to know what type of program they should be looking for in order to do that. What I would like students to know is that you can still find a way to specialize with populations or forms of therapy in a very general counseling, therapy, or social work program. You will be networking with your professors in these graduate programs who may have the same area of interest as you and who can help you develop your style. Also, you typically find and enhance your niche while in your graduate program. You will then start tailoring your papers and presentations to your specialty area. It's important to remember that as a new counselor, therapist, or social worker, you don't usually get to choose your population or your style of therapy. It might depend on the agency you work for, though. You rarely immediately know your client's diagnosis before they walk into the first therapy session, so it's important to understand the basics of the different counseling techniques. If you find that your career requires a graduate degree, here are some tips for looking at graduate programs and their prerequisites. Make sure to visit the websites of the different grad programs or request information from them. If you want to look at accredited programs and make sure that they're accredited, you can always go to the accreditation website. For example, KCREP has a website for counseling, for licensed mental health counseling, for you to look at the different accredited programs throughout the country. Some programs do have prereqs. This happens more often with specialty counseling programs, but it's always safe to check. Traditional mental health or rehab counseling don't really have specific prerequisites, aside from having your bachelor's degree, though some general programs do require social science coursework at least. In some states, you can't become a school counselor without a teaching background. In the majority, though, you can. Aside from looking at your GPA and GRE score, most graduate programs truly care about your relevant experience to the field of counseling. Any experience related to working with or helping others is beneficial for you. Some states can certify individuals who don't have a master's degree in counseling-related positions. For example, substance abuse counselors can be counselors without having their master's degree as long as they have experience personally with substance abuse. Look into your state's Department of Mental Health. For Central Florida, it's the Mental Health Association of Central Florida for volunteer or paid positions. You can be a guardian advocate with the Mental Health Association of Central Florida, where you can work with clients who have been Baker acted to act as an advocate for them. Prospective school counselors will want to get involved in the K-12 system. For example, you can be a substitute teacher. Over the years, we have gathered a list from students that have done internship and volunteering experiences related to counseling. You can work with Aspire Health Partners, Children's Home Society of Florida, the Center and Zebra Coalition, which work with LGBTQ individuals, the Mental Health Association of Central Florida, Harbor House, which is a women's shelter. You can also work at crisis hotlines with Give Kids the World, Musicians on Call. You can also be a registered behavior technician if you hope to be an ABA therapist in the future. You can go to daycare centers, you can do childcare, you can be a nanny. You can also be a substitute teacher or school volunteer if you want to work as a school counselor in the future. Most of our students look for these internship opportunities on their own, so it's really a matter of reaching out to offices in your area related to what you want to do. If you decide that you don't want to get your master's degree, or you're not sure if you want to go to graduate school right away, there are still jobs that you can do that are related to counseling. You can be a crisis intervention counselor. You can be a rehab counselor, a substance abuse counselor, a child life development specialist, a child welfare or protection social worker, a board-certified assistance behavioral analyst, which is related to ABA therapy. You can also be a K-12 or special education teacher. You can work at daycare centers, childcare, or be a nanny, like we talked about earlier, or you can also be a substitute teacher or school volunteer. You can be a caseworker or case manager, which is related to social work. You can also work as a social and human services aide or assistant, or you can be an academic advisor at a community or state college. Some of these professions might require a specialization aside from just your bachelor's degree, but it's something that you can look into. Regardless of the specific area of counseling you are interested in, the ultimate goal is to help others. I hope this video helped you understand the basics of counseling and related professions. Now it's your turn to go out there and speak to professionals for more in-depth information and advice. And be sure to speak to your advisors if you have questions about preparing for graduate school. We wish you the best.